Okay, so we're here. We're walking towards the Vanderbilt Mansion. You can pick up your tickets first, and they have like guided tours every hour. And we're gonna walk in through the entrance and pick up the tickets, and then maybe check out the outside grounds before we do the tour inside the mansion. Okay, so this one over here is a visitor center. At first I thought it was a mansion because I saw erosion. I was surprised, but actually this is where you pick up the tickets, and the mansion's over there to the left, as you can see. And then the parking here is included with the ticket price, and it's in the back where we just park, plenty of parking space. So we're gonna pick up the ticket first.
These are the only restrooms on the property if anybody needs them.
Oh, it's not inside.
No.
Okay, all right.
And we are card only, unfortunately.
Oh, card. Okay, no problem. That's good. I love how you guys have a guided tour. The other mentioned your discovery.
Yeah.
You don't really get it in the knowledge.
Or be able to ask questions.
Correct, yeah.
All right, so this will. This is the library, or the part of that.
stay in that center room.
Thank you. Wow.
All right, folks, welcome to the Vanderbilt Mansion. I brought you all in as guests of the Vanderbilts. But the truth is, you guys are the perfect size for a party at the Vanderbilts. I'm used to having tours of 30 or 40 people, which are far too many for this home. A size of about 18 guests is the normal party the Vanderbilts are going to be having. Nothing huge, no big balls, operas, or parties going on here like you might expect down in New York City or in Newport. This is a seasonal home for Frederick and Louise Vanderbilt, a spring and fall residence. They'll be here for 12 weeks of the year. Additional properties they have are a Fifth Avenue mansion in New York City, a home in Newport, Rhode Island, a home in Bar Harbor, Maine, and an Adirondack campsite to round it out as well. Now, I brought you all in as guests, and your first stop for the night is going to be 3 to 4 hours in the dining room, enjoying a 7 to 9 course meal hand prepared by Louise's personal French chef. Each course will come paired with a different bottle of wine from the 3-room wine cellar directly below us in the basement. More on that later, I promise. But if you haven't had enough to drink during dinner, those 7 to 9 courses, the men and women will be separating for separate social gatherings after dinner. The women are going to be going right over here to the French parlor room, decorated with real 16th to 18th century French parlor furniture. Let's talk about Frederick's parlor. Now, Frederick works for 22 railroad companies. This is an important figure because his father and grandfather, the people responsible for building the fortune, also worked for 22. Frederick wants to make sure he's putting the exact same amount of effort that it took to build the fortune to make sure he can maintain it. And this is the first key income tax and inheritance tax being introduced to the United States. We'll finish up the rest of the Vanderbilt story throughout the house. Don't worry, you don't have to ask questions about what's going to happen next because I will tell you later on. But we do have one more room to talk about, and it's Frederick's office right here. Now, thinking about it, you might think that it's a railroad office, but if you know anything about the Vanderbilts, you know they built Grand Central Terminal in Manhattan. Frederick does not need a tiny little railroad office in his Hyde Park home. Instead, what he needs is a place for property management. He operates the Italian gardens on this site, 5 greenhouses that he has installed within the first 6 months of moving in, and then of course the massive 400-acre hobby farm across the street. What makes Frederick qualify for this? Well, he's the first Vanderbilt graduate inside of this home. The second rule is that there is no flash photography. The third rule is to stay with me and the group at all times. And the fourth rule is to ask as many questions as you want. That's what I get paid to do at the end of the day. Thank you. from what I know from Robert, can be very good. Yeah. Yeah, so this home is more of a homegrown home. With Vanderbilt, like I said, it's the third smallest home that they built, about 43. So, yeah, it's $2.1 million, roughly $74 million today. That's not an accurate appraisal price. That's just with adjusted inflation. They didn't tell me what the home is actually worth. Exactly. Exactly. Adjusting some numbers. But yeah, it would have been a little more fancy. Tapestries on the wall, things like that. But when it comes to decoration, pretty much like this, a little more colorful back in the day too. Lots of little flowers and things like that. Yeah, his youngest brother, George, owns the billboard. Yeah. Summer was before Rhode Island. Yeah, you want to be by the coast in the summer because there's no air conditioning back then. Hudson Valley seems like it's very beautiful during the summer. Where do you guys think? Hudson Valley residents? It's okay. That's why. I mean, incredibly in the summers. Where in this house, you never lied, okay? All right, I'm doing it for the joke. Now, here's the thing. I said you couldn't touch anything inside this home, and there happens to be two things that the federal government allows you to touch. They both happen to be stair banisters, so I lied to you to save you the pain, because it's not that fun to use a stair banister. This one, however, is a velvet rail all the way to the top, so please make sure you get your money's worth. I'll be calling right behind you all if you want to start heading up the stairs ahead of me. That's Hera and Zeus on the other side. Yeah, you'll see a bunch of Greek gods going up the stairs too. Clock, 24 hours clock. Listen to you. So what is it happening? All right, folks, welcome up to the second floor. While we're just waiting for everyone, something out for the past few weeks, and it seems to be going pretty well. So downstairs, I asked you to all stay with me in that center room as we talked about all of these side rooms. I'm going to encourage you to do the opposite up here. Go and look at the bedrooms as I talk about them so you can visualize what I'm saying and not just imagine it. There's a lot of rooms up here, lots of rooms to look into and explore, so I am going to ask that not all of us crowd into the rooms that I am talking about, and we make sure we respect the space of the objects we're moving around and the personal space of each other. With that being said, though, feel free to go and look at these rooms as I talk about them. I'm going to start with the two southern master bedrooms. And you heard me correctly, two master bedrooms. Why? Because they're imitating European royalty at this point. Kings and queens have separate bedrooms, so do Gilded Age millionaires. Now, Louise's room on the left in that small little hallway is almost an exact replica of Marie Antoinette's bedroom in the Palace of Versailles. That's what the blue bed rail is, all of the ornate gold furniture and dressings, the bed sheets, the mirror, the paintings. It's all a pretty accurate representation, or at least the best that Louise can buy with money in 1899. To the right in that little hallway is Frederick Vanderbilt's bedroom. It is currently undergoing an 18-month renovation process. It was covered ceiling to floor in Belgian tapestry that hadn't been cleaned since at least 1899. But if I'm being honest with you, Frederick Vanderbilt was not cleaning his tapestries, so they're far, far dirtier than 1899. They need quite the spa day. We'll get them back in another 6 months or so. Outside to the left, dressing room. Her bedroom is a model of Marie Antoinette's bedroom, meaning yes, her boudoir is also a model of Marie Antoinette's boudoir. On the opposite side, behind the closed door, you'll find Frederick's closet and bathroom. Those doors are closed because that's where we shoved all the furniture. That needed to be taken out so the renovation process could occur in Frederick's bedroom. Moving on to the guest bedrooms in this house, I'm going to start with the Red Room Suite right over here. The Red Room Suite, women's room on my left, men's room on my right. They are connected by a door in between, and it is the premier guest suite in the entire house, simply because of proximity to Frederick and Louise's bedrooms. The closer you're staying with the host family during your visit, the more your room. I'm going to start with the Mauve room. And before I talk about the specifics of that room itself, I want to mention its similarities to the 6 other guest bedrooms on the 3rd floor above us. That's right, if you were wondering what's up on the 3rd floor, 6 guest bedrooms and 11 female servant bedrooms. That part of the house is closed for curatorial renovation. That's our big theme this year. We got a lot more in our budget than we normally do, so we're finally doing a lot of renovation projects that we've been meaning to. Now, the Mauve room is exactly the same as those bedrooms, just with a different colored wallpaper. However, with the Mauve room at the end of this hall, I do want to point out that the only fully visible bathroom you'll see on the entire tour is connected to the Mauve room, so make sure you stop by and see it. Now, the blue room down on the left is my favorite room in the house, which is why I saved it for last on this floor. The blue room is my favorite room, not for its function, although you should know it was used for single women traveling with their chaperones. But the blue room is my favorite for who it introduces us to. Margaret Van Allen, Louise Vanderbilt's niece and the main character of the end of our story. But who is Margaret Van Allen? She's going to become Frederick's heir, receiving $5 million in the deed to this house, which, spoiler alert, she'll eventually hand over to the National Park Service in 1940. But you all knew that anyway, you saw the sign coming in. Now, Margaret Van Allen's Louise Vanderbilt's niece, and 2 things are going to happen throughout Frederick's life that are going to help him shape this decision to make Margaret Van Allen the heir. The first is Frederick and Louise's inability to have children. This is a medical condition that one of them has. We're not exactly 100% sure who had it. We'll never truly know, but they were unable to have children. And Margaret Van Allen is going to be the most frequent guest in this home, being here for 3 out of the 12 weeks that the Vanderbilts are here. She's 12 when she first meets Frederick, so she's that perfect kind of daughter age. Frederick has always loved kids, starts treating her like a daughter, spoiling her on holidays and things like that. And of course, Louise contributed too. That's her niece. But then what's going to happen is she's going to get married, and Margaret Van Allen's husband is going to start making some bad financial decisions. It's not 100% his fault, just tanking of the companies that he's profiting from and things like that. Now, Frederick is going to give Margaret Van Allen some advice, and that advice is going to help shape how she's going to make her and her husband's fortune. It's for this that Frederick decides she is going to be the heir to the fortune, proving she knows how to handle the money most. But the big question I get is, why doesn't it go to anybody else with the Vanderbilt last name? And that's because of how they are spending their money. The 7 other Vanderbilt children are rapidly losing their fortunes, bleeding at this point. The Gilded Age is over in 1916 when those taxes are introduced. But of course, they don't want to stop living their Gilded Age lifestyle. They continue to build multi-million-dollar mansions across the United States, continue to throw multi-million-dollar parties, balls, and operas, until the Great Depression hits and there is no way to rebound from that. And we will continue the rest of that Great Depression tale.
Be careful.
It's called Choir Boys Carrying Altar Pieces from Burning Church. The Vegas.
Okay.
You're all good. If you're thinking that's the kitchen, that's the butler's pantry right down over there, where all the fine china and everything like that's going to be held. And in case you are wondering, yes, it is 2 stories.
Oh, wow.
One would not be enough.
The real kitchen's right here.
I like this one.
I love the dumbwaiter. I took a picture of that last time. Yeah, that would be, I like the paint. He collects a lot of stuff. So I was just really cool. Guide. How many homes did you say they had?
5. There were 43 across the United States, though. Only 8 of them remain. All right, folks, welcome down to the basement. We've entered the final portion of our tour. Your exit is all the way at the end of this hall. You can choose to leave at any point during the remainder of my tour. The only thing I ask is that you make sure you close the door behind yourself. But that's not an insult, that's just so no critters get inside. Now, we made it to a servant-only portion of the hall, which is that huge aesthetic difference that we're noticing. No big marble busts or statues or anything like that. This is just meant to be the perfect working space. All the way down to the left, just out of view, there are 2 laundry rooms, one for the Vanderbilts, one for the staff. The 6 bedrooms on this right wall are 6 staff bedrooms for male servants, with 11 female servant bedrooms being all the way at the top of the stairs. The 3-room wine cellar is that center room in that half-circle formation over there. A room for red, a room for white. This hallway goes back to the head housekeeper's office. Down to the right is the kitchen. All the way down to the left is the icebox. And just before that, you'll find the staff dining room. It's bare bones down here. That's why I go over it so quick. It's all just basic rooms. Now let's talk about the servants. It's been leading up to it this whole time. There are 60 people working for the Vanderbilts on this property. 40 locals who are going to work on the yard and the landscape, the farm, and everything like that, and 20 traditional servants, the type of servants that you'd see on Downton Abbey, butlers, and things like that. Now, you're going to get paid $2 a day as one of those staff members. I understand that doesn't sound like a lot of money, but it is a lot of money for the time period. The average national servant salary across the United States is only 75 cents a day. So you're getting paid $1.25 more than a majority of your competition. And furthermore, the average American is only making 33 cents a day. So you're getting paid $1.67 more than the average American. Sound like a good deal? Yeah, you'll be working 2 weeks in a row with 2 nights off, 12 to 14-hour days. If that sounds bad, that's the reality of pretty much every job across the United States at this point. It's a lot of working. But you will be compensated a little bit more, I'd say, with benefits that you're not going to get anywhere else. Your own bedroom. You don't have to share it with anybody else. It's 1 servant to 1 bedroom. And 3 meals prepared by Luis's personal French chef, 3 times a day, of the same quality of Frederick and Luis's meals. So it's a pretty dang good deal to be working here, but you're going to be working hard. Now, in 1926, things in this home are going to take a drastic change with the death of Louise Vanderbilt. She dies at the age of 74 on a shopping trip to Paris. She dies of natural causes, but Frederick comes back to the United States devastated. He starts to live as a recluse, cuts his servant staff in half from 60 to 33, and sells his 4 other homes, moving into this home full-time for the last 12 years of his life. During these last 12 years, he's going to get very close to the 33 servants who are living here. Not extremely close, don't get me wrong, they're still his employees, but he's going to be doing things that he wouldn't be doing with guests since he's not going to be having guests. Yacht rides up and down the Hudson River, horseback riding on the property, playing lawn tennis, things like that. But in January of 1938, Frederick will join his wife Louise when he passes away at the age of 82. He is worth $78 million when he passes away. But a little known fact, we're in the height of the Great Depression in 1938. The wealthy in our country are being taxed 90% more than usual. This is because 70% of the US population is living under the poverty line during the Great Depression. They literally don't have the money to be taxed. So as a result of this, Frederick loses $30 million right off the bat. He's now worth $48 million. But let's talk about the names that are in Frederick's will, because that's what we really care about, right? The first names to be included are the 33 names of the staff who were working here when Frederick passed. The head groundskeeper, who has worked here for 26 plus years, gets $250,000 and a guest house on the property. It's safe to say in 1938, he never has to work a day in his life again. Furthermore, all the way down the list to the least experienced employee, they get a $1,000 bonus, which in 1938 was enough money to purchase a home in Hyde Park, a 2,000 to 4,000 square foot home on average. Do you guys want me to tell you how much a home in Hyde Park was less than 100 years ago, or do you want me to spare you the pain? Think about it first.
Tell us.
$730 for anywhere between a 2,000 to 4,000 square foot home on average. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm not going to talk about that. We're just going to sit with it for a second. Now, here's the deal. All those employees get the money because Frederick is extremely thankful for them, or at least that's what we think. In the last couple years of his life, he's not having guests. These are the only people he has in his life, besides Margaret Van Allen, who comes and visits every once in a while. And they seem to cheer up Frederick and really keep him going. He realizes how lucky he is to have such a dedicated staff, and giving them the money is his way of saying thank you. But it's not the only money Frederick's giving away in his will. He's giving $12 million away to charity, $2 million to Yale University, and $10 million to various real charities across the New York State area. From here to New York City, schools, churches, hospitals, and things like that. The reason I went real is because I don't think giving $2 million to Yale is really a charitable donation, although I'm sure the Yale University really appreciated the new student dorms they were able to build. And then, of course, the last name in Frederick's will is Margaret Van Allen. She gets the deed to this house in $5 million.
Wow.
This is gonna sound ungrateful. She does not want this home. Let me explain. She can't afford it. She has a home in Newport, Rhode Island already, and it would be basically a death sentence to have another home like this, especially with 90% increased taxes. So she puts it on the market in 1938 for an incredibly low price, trying to get rid of it before she has to pay property tax that first year. But she fails. She puts it on the market for $350,000 and nobody is interested. If that sounds cheap, it is cheap, even for the time period. We are talking about 700 acres of property in a 54,000 square foot mansion, fully furnished. She literally does not take a single object from the home when she puts it on the market. But nobody's interested. So in 1939, she tries again. $250,000. No deal. 1940, she's gonna go to her final asking price of $150 grand. The best offer she's gonna get is just $80,000 from a local development company who has plans of tearing everything down, historic landscape included, and putting a housing development here. Margaret Van Allen is not going to have this. But before she'd even say yes to the deal or no, FDR, her neighbor down the road, is going to reach out with the head of the National Park Service. And I'm summing it up, but he's gonna offer her a once-in-a-lifetime deal. Margaret Van Allen is to donate this home to the National Park Service for $1. In return, she'll get a $1.7 million tax write-off, which is the appraised value of this home when she gives it to the National Park Service. To put that tax write-off into perspective, she does not have to pay income tax for nearly 10 years after the deal is done, almost until the 1950s. Her family is still incredibly prosperous in Newport, Rhode Island to this day. If you go to our visitor center, you can see the family tree there to line things up. But if you saw that, you would notice there's not many Vanderbilts around anymore. There are plenty, but none with big names or anything like that. The people that come to mind are Anderson Cooper, Gloria Vanderbilt, who started Gloria Vanderbilt Jeans, but they're just outliers in the Vanderbilt family who have managed to get some sort of money that relates to how much money they used to have. The truth is, the Vanderbilts are living with a fraction of the wealth that they once had. They went from the richest family in the United States in 70 years to almost losing it all. Now, before I let you go, there are 7 other Vanderbilt mansions that you can visit across the United States. Before you do those, though, I am going to recommend you all stop and visit the Tenement Museum on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. I mentioned that 70% of the US population is living under the poverty line during the Great Depression, and they're living in tiny little industrial apartments like that on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. Go see how the majority of us would be living during this time period. It's really important with the Gilded Age that we don't lose track of how the majority of Americans lived during this time period. We see shows like Downton Abbey or the new HBO show that everyone's been talking about, The Gilded Age, and they idolize living like this. And they tend to ignore the fact that many Americans are suffering during this time period. It is up to us to remember that, to make sure history never repeats itself. That's what I believe these tours and historic sites are for, and I hope you feel similar or at least learn something you can take home with you today. Thank you all so much for joining me on this tour. Your exit is all the way at the end of the hall. I hope you have a great rest of your day and a great holiday season. Thank you all. I'm going to be down here for the next 5 minutes or so if you have any questions.
Thank you so much.